In the last class we have seen how the experiment HMBC works. This is a heteronuclear multiple bond correlation experiment. Compared to what we get in HSQC and HMQC, we get longer range correlations in this particular experiment. So, the schematic of this spectrum is what we saw last time. So, this is shown here. We can see that in this particular spectrum HMBC, you get long range as shown in this case. So, you can see here, for example, in this molecule which is glutamine, in a glutamine we saw that you can now get correlations from this hydrogen atom to two bonds carbon, and you get a correlation to here carbon. Similarly, you can get a correlation to from this proton to the further carbon. So, what is done typically is that we suppress the one bond correlation in HMBC by tuning the coupling constant or tuning the delays in the coupling constant inept to the frequency or the coupling value for a two bond. So, if you recollect, in an inept experiment, in an inept block of a HSQC, we basically saw that we can tune the coupling to a delay to 1 by 2 j, where j is the coupling constant between the carbon and proton. Similar to that experiment, here also we do the same thing. The inept here is, instead of tuning to 1 by 2 j, that is j of one bond coupling, the 1 by 2 j is taken, but j is tuned to a longer smaller coupling which is typically about 10 to 15 hertz. In fact, it can be smaller than 10 hertz. So, about 5 to 15, 5 to 10 let us say for 2 bond, and further you can go up to 3 bonds away, but that is much weaker coupling. So, therefore, that coupling is much smaller than 5 hertz, and because of its weakness, the smaller value, we do not normally get correlations further further than 3 bonds. But 2 bond coupling from carbon to proton is very frequent, that is most the peaks are in this correlation, and that is what we see here. So, you can see in this particular schematic drawing, we can see that when I look at this line here, this red line which corresponds to the line 2, that means the proton here, we are looking at proton in the x axis and the carbon is on the y axis. So, the proton number 2, this proton has a chemical shift of around 2.1 ppm in the proton axis, but in the carbon axis you do not see the correlation to the carbon 2. Carbon 2 should be here, but that is what we do not see. Sorry, this is carbon 2, we do not get that, we get correlation to this carbon which corresponds to 3 on this axis. Okay. So, on this axis, this is a number is given for the carbon, and you can see this carbon is number 3 and this carbon is number 1. So, we are getting 1 and 3 correlations for the proton which is number 2. So, that is what is indicated here, that if you have proton, second proton, the second carbon, the proton shows correlation to this carbon as well as this carbon. Similarly, we can look at the other proton which is number 3, which had a chemical shift of 2.2, 2.5 ppm, and that shows correlations in the carbon dimension to carbon number 2 now, which is here, which is this carbon number 2, and if possible, that is if there is a 3 bond coupling strong enough, then also to carbon number 1. Okay. So, typically we look for in HMBC to 2 bond, we do not go to it beyond 2 bonds, because as I said, beyond 2 bonds correlations can be much weaker than 2 bonds. So, now let us see where HMBC can be useful. We saw that HSQC and HMQC give correlation between proton and carbon, and HMBC is now giving us long range, but how can that be used in practical, how can be used in practice, and where it will be useful. So, let us say we are trying to solve a problem. Let us say that we have some molecule which looks like this. This is an hypothetical system, but it will be good for illustration purposes. So, let us say that I have a molecule which is like this, which has a structure like this, and I record a 2D spectrum, 2D cozy spectrum. So, if you recollect, a 2D cozy spectrum has hydrogen protons and protons in both the dimensions. So, that is what is shown here. Now, if you look at the diagonal, again if you recollect, let us say that we have the proton is always, this diagonal is always similar to a 1D spectrum. So, let us say again we do not know exactly the values, but let us say that H beta, that H b has a chemical shift here in the proton axis, the other two H b and H c have here. Okay. So, now according to the Cozy principle, this H b will show correlation to both H c as well as H a, because H b is 3 bonds separated from H a. So, therefore, I would expect a cross peak between H b and H a and also between H b and H c, because H b is also separated from H c by 3 bonds. So, based on that we have shown the schematic here that H b shows correlation to both H b shows to C and A. So, there should be a peak here also. So, let me draw that. So, there will be a cross peak here also. Okay. So, this is basically telling us that this is the Cozy cross peak between the H beta proton and the remaining 2 protons. But now the question comes, which of these 2 peaks, how do we know which peaks, does it, this blue color, this peak, does it belong to this H a or does this belong to H c? Similarly, this one, does it belong to H a or H c? So, one of them is H a, one of them is H c, but we do not know which is which. So, how do we find out that? The one thing is, you can say, look, chemical shift wise I can probably make a guess that out of these 2, one may be more downfield shifted, other is less downfield shifted and so on. But that is not always possible in NMR, because we get a broad picture of where the chemical shift will be, but one cannot rely exactly on the chemical shift value to decide whether this is H a or H c. So, what we do in NMR is we have to rely on what is called correlations, chemical shift correlations. A chemical shift correlation is the only way to establish unambiguously, means without any doubt, which peak corresponds to which atom. If you do not have chemical shift correlation, that is in 1D, for example, in 1D we do not get any chemical shift correlation. So, if you have only 1D spectrum with you, then you have no choice but to rely on the chemical shift values and make a guess, but that guess can go wrong many times. So, therefore, the whole idea of 2D NMR was invented, because that helps us to give chemical shift correlation connections between 2 protons or 2 carbons, and that information really helps to find out which peak will correspond to which atom. So, in this example we have 2D correlation spectroscopy, that is Cozy, but you can see this is also not sufficient. This is not giving me a clear picture of which atom belongs to which peak and vice versa. Okay. So, how do we solve this problem? We will see that HMBC helps us here. Now, let us say that I record 2D HSQC of this molecule, which is shown here, and a 2D HSQC or HMQC, remember, will give us the same information. So, as far as the chemical shift correlations are concerned, absolutely there is no difference between these 2 spectrum. Minor differences are there in terms of sensitivity, resolution, etc., but the chemical shift correlation information is same in both. So, let us say I record such a spectrum of for this hypothetical molecule shown here, I may get something like this. So, here this is on carbon number 2, this is shown proton number 2. How did I get this information? I got the information because I looked here and I have somehow assigned this H beta, H b, because H b is showing to both. So, I know that H b has to be in the center of the 2. So, again, you know, in this kind of system what we are trying to use is a simple logical based argument. We are not relying on the chemical shift value. Our all arguments here are based on simple intuitively based on the connectivities, and this is how NMR typically works, that we normally go by first the chemical shift correlations, then by the connectivity information, and then third is by using chemical shift values also. But chemical shift values, as I mentioned, is not always reliable, because there could be many factors which affect the chemical shift values. So, one should be cautious in directly using chemical shift value information. Therefore, we go for this correlation. So, now the logic which I am using here is as follows. So, I am saying that this H beta, this peak gives me correlation to 2 protons. So, using the argument that in a cozy you get correlations only to a 3 bond neighboring proton and not further away, I can say that this H beta or H b has to be somewhere where it is coupled to both protons on either side, and that only has this here. That is, the structure is telling me that only this proton can be such that it will be coupled to one proton this side and another proton this side. So, based on this kind of an argument, I have assigned or I have chosen this H beta to be this peak. Okay. Now, knowing the chemical shift of the hydrogen, which is here in this line, the vertical line which I am drawing by this arrow, I can use the same value here which is on this line vertical, and therefore, I can say that this proton this correlation in HSQC belongs to carbon number 2, because the proton number 2, that is this proton Hb, is having this chemical shift value, which is what I have also seen in this spectrum. Okay. So, you can see here we are trying to now use a simple connectivity based arguments. Now, let us come to this again. So, these two still are not clear. The question mark says that we do not know whether which is 1 proton or carbon pair number 1 or which could be proton or carbon pair number 3. So, this either it is this pair or this pair here. So, you can see that this ambiguity remains. It is not, HSQC is not helping us anyway in resolving this problem. Okay. So, then what should we do next? We can go to HMBC. Now, let us look at HMBC, what information it comes and how it helps. So, let us say I record a 2D HMBC on this molecule, and as we saw in the previous slides, this vertical scale axis is carbon and the horizontal axis is proton. Now, let us say that I am seeing a peak like this at 170 ppm in the carbon along the carbon axis, and that, remember, according to our carbon chemical shift scales, carbonyl comes around 170 ppm, and we have a carbonyl in our molecule. So, what is happening is that here for this particular region here, I am seeing a peak here correlation corresponding to a carbonyl. So, remember this proton where my arrows are pointing now, they correspond to the proton and carbon number 2, this proton. Okay. Now, that is showing a correlation. If you draw the line, this line is number 2, it is showing a correlation to carbonyl, which means this beta proton is coupled to a carbonyl, and that is not very surprising because we expect a long range correlation in HMBC. In this case, it is 3 bonds away from this hydrogen. So, fine. So, that is not very surprising, and Hb now should show me a correlation to the next proton, which is either Ha or Hc. Okay. So, that is what will come in this line, but if you go to this particular case, now if you look at this line here, what is happening in this line, you see this particular proton, which is this one of the 2. So, these two are these two, if you draw a vertical line here. So, remember we are all hydrogen axis in all the 3 spectra. So, my horizontal vertical line, if I draw like this, it will give me the proton value. So, this proton value here and this proton value here, these 2 proton values corresponds to these 2 here. Okay. So, if you look at the proton value here, it is giving me correlation now to a peak here, which is carbonyl. Now, if you look at the structure here, only Ha and Hb are close to this carbonyl. In fact, Ha is very close, 2 bonds away. So, H alpha Ha is expected to give a strong HMBC correlation to a carbon, to the carbonyl carbon, and I would not expect Hc to give correlation to this carbonyl carbon. Therefore, out of these 2, the one which gives me correlation to the carbonyl peak will definitely be the Ha, that is will definitely be that one. Okay. So, that is what is shown here, that based on this information that this peak this line gives me correlation to carbonyl and 2. So, this is 2. So, let me write that down. So, this is number 2 carbon and this is CO. So, therefore, it becomes this is HA is basically that number 1. So, now I can say that now this proton belongs to number 1. So, based on that now I can say that this line which was what was a problem, remember we had a problem saying which of these two corresponds to H or C. Now, having seen that this line here this proton gives me correlation in HMBC to carbonyl, then I conclude that this line has to belong to HA and that is this one here. So, and the second one here does not give me any correlation to carbonyl, but it gives me correlation to 2 and which is expected for C. If you look at C, C is expected to give a correlation to B, that is to this second carbon, but it is not expected to give a correlation to carbonyl which is very far away, it is 4 bonds away. So, therefore, this kind of a spectrum, and now what is this line coming back to the last one, this is nothing but a B and B is giving me giving me a correlation to C carbonyl and it should give me correlation to both A and C, but remember both A and C are very close. So, let me draw the correct this one I would expect, let us say this is number 3, that is HC. So, therefore, this will be there will be a peak here which will be carbon of HA. This is Ca which is number 1. Okay. So, this particular line if you see the last line here corresponds to HB which is here and it is showing correlation to 3 peaks. One is the 3, 2 is showing to 3, this H beta is showing to 3 which is this carbon here and it is showing to 1 which is this carbon here and both of these are only 2 bonds away and it is seeing that there is a correlation to carbonyl which is far away, but this peak may not come or may come, it does not matter to us because remember we are only focusing on the assignment of 1 and 3. The problem was here 1 and 3 and that is now resolved or solved using this HMBC spectrum which helps me to give this information. So, therefore, HMBC is this helps a lot to unambiguously figure out which carbon is coupled to which proton and the long range information helps us to resolve any doubts like we saw in this particular example. One thing you may ask or you may have in mind is that why are we not discussing about this carbon, but remember it is fine if there is a this carbon will come around 60 ppm. So, there may be a correlation between HC and this carbon which is not I am not showing in this spectrum at all, because for me just getting a correlation to carbonyl is sufficient to resolve between the doubts of which is HA which is HC. Okay. If I get a information of this carbon, that is this CHCOH carbon, good, that is also will help me to resolve the doubts between which is HC and which is HA. For example, HC will give me correlation to this carbon, but HA will not give me any correlation to this carbon. Okay. So, therefore, yes, having this information also helps, but already I am able to find out or clarify my doubts by simply looking at the carbonyl correlation. Okay. So, therefore, chemical shift correlations which are given by 2D NMR are very useful to for assignment for of peaks, and remember in assignment of peaks in NMR is the very important part is not just recording a 1D and we cannot figure out which peak correspond to which atom, we need this kind of information to complete the assignment. So, let us move on to the one experiment which is HSQC TOC C now. So, this is going to be the last experiment in the list of heteronuclear correlation 2D NMR. So, this is a different type. So, if you recollect, we discussed the fact that you can combine many experiments together. So, in NMR this is how 3 dimensional NMR is built. A 3D NMR, typically many of the 3D NMR experiments are nothing but combinations of two dimensional experiments. So, this is one such combination, but this is not a 3D experiment, it is still 2D, and this experiments helps many times when there is a doubts or ambiguity on what if the TOCSY is not sufficient to resolve the peaks, it helps to record this experiment. So, let us see how this experiment works, and this is a very standard experiment used for small molecules and sometimes even for peptides and proteins. So, the HSQC TOCSY works like this. So, on the left side you see we have there is a structure of a molecule, this is alanine, amino acid called as alanine. Now, in alanine there are 2 protons, okay, we will ignore this NH3 for time being, we are only looking at carbon proton pairs. So, this proton we call it as alpha proton and this proton we will call it as beta proton. Now, in a regular COSY or a TOCSY you will get correlation between these two. Okay. Now, in a regular HSQC you get correlation between these two. Okay. So, what is done in HSQC is this two information, that is information of direct proton carbon correlation and information of proton proton correlation is combined together, and both the information what just now I mentioned are available in one spectrum. So, how is that? Let us look at it. So, this is, let us say this is alanine and alanine beta. So, there is a typo here, we will correct it. This is beta and this is alpha. So, there is a so now it is known that it is expected that the carbon beta should come around 20 ppm in alanine and carbon alpha comes around 50 ppm. So, now what happens in HSQC TOCSY? Let us understand the peak pattern. So, first let us see HSQC peak. So, for an alanine, where do you expect the HSQC peaks to come? You expect the HSQC peak to come at this position, this cross here, because a carbon beta is correlated to proton beta. So, that will come here, and similarly carbon alpha is correlated to carbon proton alpha. So, this is a standard HSQC peak, this is what we expect. Please note that this is not a diagonal peak, although in this picture it looks like a diagonal, it is not diagonal because one axis is proton, other axis is carbon. So, you cannot expect a diagonal peak in this kind of a spectrum. Now, next is the TOCSY peak. So, HSQC peaks have come. Now, the word TOCSY has to come now, I mean the spectrum correlation corresponding TOCSY has to come. So, what is the TOCSY correlation? What do you expect? You expect this proton and this proton to be coupled in a regular TOCSY. So, that is what we will see now, that these two protons are the cross peaks, these two peaks are the cross peaks corresponding to the TOCSY coupling. Now, if you see along this line straight, along this line for a given carbon, that is beta, I am seeing the full proton connectivity, means all the protons in a spin system. Remember the word spin system, which is very important to understand in TOCSY. So, the complete spin system will appear in the line of a given carbon peak. Similarly, if you go to any other carbon in the same molecule, you will get a full line of the full spin system which will show up. Okay. So, this is how the HSQC TOCSY works, that given a molecule or a spin system, you take any carbon in the spin system and take the line along that horizontal, and you will see all the proton peaks in that spin system will show up here. We will see examples just in a few slides. Similarly, you take to any other carbon, you will again get the same full spin system along that. So, it means all the carbons will show to all the protons. Okay. So, you see this is a combination of proton TOCSY to carbon HSQC. So, let us see some more examples. Let us say that you have this molecule, this is same alanine. So, this is what is shown here, this is peak number 1 and this is beta peak. Now, this is similarly a peak, this is a TOCSY because proton to proton TOCSY, and I will get this 4 peak pattern. So, where does HSQC TOCSY help? The HSQC TOCSY helps in when suppose you have a mixture of molecules. Okay. So, remember in NMR typically when you do organic compounds, we have only a pure compound in hand, and all our spectra that we record is typically a pure compound. But let us say you are working on some project or some work where you have mixture of compounds. Then how do I figure out which peaks correspond to which compound? Okay. So, this is typically a situation in some areas in NMR known as metabolomics, where you are looking at small molecules in a system, and what happens is many molecules will be mixed together in the same sample. So, therefore, we need to find out which peak belong to which molecule, and this experiment HSQC TOCSY comes into help for that kind of a system, where you want to find out what are the molecules mixture present in the mixture. So, let us say that we take an example here, we take a mixture of valine, a molecule amino acid called valine with another amino acid leucine. So, let us say I have a mixture, means I have combined the two and in my sample and I have mixed. Remember, this is different from a dipeptide, right, because in a dipeptide you will have a connection between the two by a bond known as peptide bond, and that we will see later down the line. But in this example I have simply mixed the two and there is no direct physical connection in terms of bonds between the two molecules. So, therefore, each you can say is a spin system. Okay. So, one of each valine is denotes one spin system and leucine denotes another spin system. So, let us see how the spectrum will come. So, now this on the top portion what you are seeing here is an HSQC, a 2D HSQC of the mixture. So, what do you see in a mixture? You will see all the peaks corresponding to each proton carbon pair. Okay. This is the standard HSQC. Now, how do I figure out which peaks here correspond to which molecule? One way to do that is run this TOCSY, HSQC TOCSY. What will happen is shown in the bottom picture. Here you see all the peaks which will belong to one amino acid will be denoted as a spin system, and they will show chemical shift correlation with each other, but they will not show any chemical shift correlation with another amino acid, because this amino acid is completely a different spin system compared to this, there is no connection between them. So, this will exist independently of this spin system. Okay. So, now if you look at this picture, I have joined the lines corresponding to a given spin system, means all these peaks red color, they all show correlations to each other. If you look at these lines, this whole spin system, this vertical line belongs to one atom molecule. Similarly, this line belongs to one molecule. So, this is like a TOCSY, but now the horizontal lines are carbons, these lines, vertical is proton. So, this entire one molecule will have one connection, and similarly the other molecule. Now, if you look, this corresponds to this HSQC peaks. Okay. So, this line, vertical line corresponds to this peak on the x axis and y axis, and similarly. So, each line corresponds to one peak in the HSQC, and this whole thing corresponds to one spin system. Okay. Now, the second spin system is basically the other peaks. Let us draw that also, and this is basically this connection. This connection corresponds to another spin system, and it is completely different from the previous connection shown by the black line. Okay. So, what we have done is that we have identified a complete spin system within which are coupled to each other, and this spin system will correspond to this atom, the remaining ones. So, what is done next? You just simply look at the expected peak pattern, which is what you are seeing here, and then match it with a database or with your literature or with a reference database values, and you can figure out that these arrows which are pointing to these peaks correspond to one spin system, and this spin system could be which amino acid. Similarly, the remaining peaks can now be clubbed together because they all belong to one spin system, and those together based on the database or any reference values you can then figure out which molecule that could be, because in the database one would have stored all the chemical shift values of a given amino acid or a given molecule, and that molecule will have a known expected chemical shift, but now we have connected them by HSQC TOCC, and that connection reveals that that is one spin system, and now we can identify that that molecule could be either this valine or leucine. Okay. So, we do not need more than TOCC and HSQC to identify. Of course, the thing here you can think of it is, suppose I have a completely new molecule, then I will not be able to figure out just from this spectra, I would need additional data. But if I have a known molecule, means some molecule exactly I do not know which molecule, but I know that it has to be one of the x and n number of molecules in my list, then which molecule is that can be figured out by simply identifying the spin system based on TOCC. So, this brings us to the end of the heteronuclear NMR part of the course. We have seen at least 4 different experiments, that is HSQC, HMBC, HMQC and HSQC TOCC. These are the experiments which covers almost 90% of the NMR experiments or 90% of the problems which are looked on by chemists. Now, we will move to the next part of the course in the next class, where we will start looking at how we can apply this experiments for structure determination of a molecule, and we will look at specifically a peptide molecule.